I think we might be live on YouTube. Hello, everyone. How are you all? I hope this week is finding you well. I might be having my round 2 of COVID. Who knows? I've been testing, but so far so good. But I'm a little bit under the weather, but it's all good, all fine. I'm super happy. It's Wednesday, and you all know what Wednesday means to me. It's Wonder Wednesdays at Floxies Community. And today we will be learning all about animation with the one and only Joseph Berry. So, hi, Jeff. Lovely to see you here. I'm just about to enter our Gather Town space, so bear with me. Let's have a look. Righty. So if you've never used GatherTown before, this is the kind of interface that you find when you first land on Gather. You have to kind of edit your character. Once again, I try to match my outfits, but today I'm slightly late, so I won't be changing my jacket just for today. So yeah, join the gathering, and as soon as I'm gonna click on this button, I'll probably join the table where we meet every week. So let's have a look. Connected to the server. Yes, and everyone's here.
Go.
Whoa.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Let me just check the stream.
Hello.
Hi,
Hello.
Joseph. Lovely to meet
Hello.
you. At last.
Oh, I feel like I'm in a mad rush.
Great to have you here, Joseph. Thank you so much for being so patient with me as well, because we've been changing the day, changing the time many times. But Joe, you're great. It's amazing to have you here. Thank you for bearing with me and all of that. So
That's all right.
It's great. Hi everyone. I hope you're all doing well. I was just saying back then on YouTube that I'm a little bit under the weather. I might have COVID again because gotta love the kids. But so far so good. It's great to see you all. Let's see in the chat. Hi Katrina. Hi Carmia, Hilary, Elizabeth, Maria, Mirella, Aida, Felicity. It's amazing to see you all. I know that a couple of you might have to scoot at some point because the Webflow party is overlapping with our event. Hello, Webflow party. We love you a little bit less. But I know that some people have been working really hard on their challenge. So please, by all means, go ahead and smash it and show them how it's done. Joseph, welcome into our space at Floxies.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
it's great to be here, and I've been a little bit running around like a headless chicken, to be honest. And I messaged you just a minute ago, like, I've really struggled to think of something that I can show you or talk about that's going to be interesting and potentially learn some things. But you came up with a good idea. And I've quickly just whipped something up while I was scrambling to sort something out. So I have some stuff. I think it's just going to kind of go with the flow, and we'll see there. And again, like I think, while I've got some things here that I can kind of show you, and like you said, I think we're going to kind of look at some really quick, easy ways to make some animations and interactions, and it will show a little bit of the build, but it will also show how you can easily make some really cool animations. But at any point, if any of you want to like ask a specific thing, or you want to find out how to maybe do something, I will do my best to kind of try and give you an answer.
Perfect. Sounds perfect to me, and it's kind of a recurring thing to us at Floxies. People seem to just like come here and be like, "Oh, Claudia, I'm so sorry. Like, I haven't prepared anything." And I was like, you know what? That's totally fine with how we roll, our vibe. We're just like very grateful to have this space, and I think for us, it's more about just having a good time, and obviously having such influential people like yourself, just giving us a little bit of your precious time just to improve ourselves and our practice. So, we're really thankful to have you here, and we're very chilled. So no worries, no pressure at all.
No pressure.
No, not at all. And just to give everyone a little bit of context here, Joseph is an experienced designer, animation expert, and if any of you have been meaning to kind of spice up your designs a little bit or get into animation, you must have heard his name before, because Joseph is kind of a star in the animation field, is won lots of awards, is part of the jury at awards as well. So yeah, once again, Joe, we're really grateful to have you here.
Oh, thank you. So yeah, shall we get cracking? Should we dive into this?
Sure, let's go.
Cool. I'm going to share my screen. So yeah, obviously you can see my screen. Okay, so I did a little bit of a Floxies branding here, very, very simple and quickly, but I just mocked up a few little screens here, and obviously really, really simple, but we're going to cover a few quick little things here. So we're going to have a look at some wrapping techniques with divs and how we can hide and reveal content, and we're going to do a little bit of a kind of page load. Then we're going to look at maybe some scrolling interactions. We're going to have a little look at a kind of an image interaction that we can do with a kind of a scale effect. And then if we get time, we can have a little look at some hovers, again, playing around with some of these elements, which the reason why I picked these is because this is like stuff that I do all the time. Every project that I do, I will set up my builds in this way, because I'll be thinking about these animations that are really easy to do and obviously can add quite a lot of impact. And I think that's really the key thing about Webflow and animation with Webflow is once you understand some of these simple processes, and they are quite simple, and I think the key thing is repetition. I've probably done this a million times. So for me, it feels very natural. To some of you, maybe not so much, but all I would say is, these small techniques, practice them and repeat them. And then over time, hopefully they just become second nature. And that's something that I'm really big on, is that to become better at building in Webflow, you have to just keep doing the same shit over and over again. And I think once you do get that foundation in place, that really then gives you the opportunity to build on top of that, and you become, I guess, a little bit more confident in what you're putting down on the page, and that allows you to then express a little bit further. So starting off with this hero title, we're going to do just a simple kind of load transition. I'm going to make the screen a little bit bigger. I won't take it full screen. Is that okay? Does that seem
it's
good?
clear.
Guys?
Yeah, it's clear to me.
Great. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to just drop in a div to start with, and this is just going to be a little hero parent. So I'm just going to call this hero parent. Obviously, again, it's really important that you name your classes well. Create this consistent naming pattern. Obviously, there's Fin Suite. That would be definitely a good place to go if you want to have some sort of naming convention. That's definitely something that, again, would come over time once you kind of repeat doing this a lot of time. You kind of remember the classes that you use, and I think thinking about that is a good place to start. So I'm going to drop in another div here. And there's probably a number of ways that we could position this div to get it down to the bottom. For instance, we've got that text in the bottom corner now. Again, just showing you the versatility. One way could be flex, where we could flex it to the bottom here. That could be one way. That's how we could get that to the bottom. Another way could be, actually, we just call this content parent. And I could give this position absolute, and I could pin it down into that bottom corner. We'd obviously need to make sure that the hero parent is set on relative, because if it isn't, it will go outside of that space. That's just the basic box model. So there's two ways to do that. I'm going to keep it on the absolute, and then I'm probably just going to give it 3 rem. I'm using rems. Again, this is with the Fin Suite fluid responsive. If you're not using that, use it, because it's really, really good. It offers a lot of control. I was using Timothy Ricks's wizardry, but I just felt that it was scaling things too much. And I was finding a lot of problems through proportions, through the brake sizes. And I just find this a lot neater. So if you haven't, definitely check that out.
Is that
Now,
client first?
Sorry?
Is that on the client first, or is that something separate?
Yeah, it's part of client first. So if you type in FinSuite Fluid Responsive, they have a page. They have this little generator. Actually, I'll get it up here. Look, let me just show you quickly. FinSuite. Am I going too fast? Because I'm just obviously conscious that I want to try and get in as much stuff as possible. Is the pace okay for everyone?
I think so. I can see people smiling. Hillary, thumb up. Yeah. So
great.
Yeah.
Okay. If I get too quick, just let me know. So yeah, this is FinSuite, and they've got this fluid responsive. They've actually got this great configurator, and you can actually kind of adjust the breakpoints. You can kind of set the sizes, and then you can kind of go, right, that's the kind of scaling proportions that I want. And the great thing about this is it scales to a certain point between each breakpoint. With the other way, it just keeps scaling. And I think, there's obviously, things that can happen where things just get too small. So if you haven't seen this, check this out. They give you the code. You literally just copy that, paste it into the embed. Well, I put it in the embed. So we've got this content parent, and what we're going to do is we're going to do a really simple technique that I use a lot, and it's with a div hide. Now, traditionally, the way that we're setting this up, it's not going to be ideal for SEO. So this is probably going to be used for some kind of more decorative text pieces rather than using this as actual heading text, because what we're theoretically going to do is we're going to split this out into 2 lines. So I'm going to give this a class of div hide. And if some of you have looked into, again, with the FinSuite classing system, we have things called global classes. We obviously have combo classes. And what that means is actually, because I'm setting this div hide now, which is just going to be, I'm going to set it to overflow hidden, and I'm just going to set the position to relative. But what I could actually do with that now is on this content parent, if I wanted to apply the div hide on this, I could apply the div hide. And as you can see, it actually applies that div hide on that element. And this is just, again, some little things to think about with these like this class system of using a global class or a combo class. So yeah, back to there. So the properties on that I just set to obviously overflow hidden, and I've set position of relative. I'm going to drop in a text here. I'm not going to drop in a heading tag, because it's not going to work if we're going to split this out. If you imagine we've got Joseph Berry, we want that all in one H tag. But the effect that we're going to create here, again, as I said, is not really ideal for that. So I'm just going to give this a name, super text, because it's going to be really big, 10 rem. I'm going to change this to a relative position of 1. We're going to change the font, which I can probably do by the body. Probably be better to do it that way. So I'm going to go in here. There's the font. I'm going to set the font color to white.
It's like watching a ticking bomb.
And I'm going to do caps. I'm just going to put this unit back to 1 again.
Making me anxious, Joe.
For me?
I'm joking. I love it. How long have you been doing this for?
I've been using Webflow for at least 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
So since kind of from the beginning. I'm just adjusting my line height here a little bit, and then I'm just going to put my name in. So there's the one line that we want, and then I'm just going to copy this. And as you can see, this is just duplicated in the exact position that we need this. And again, I'm just going to type my second name. I'm going to have a quick look at that. Yeah, it looks a bit small. So let's just make this a bit bigger. Let's really pump it up. Let's go 20. Not that big. Right. Cool. So now we've got that in position. The size and the proportions look good to me. We'll actually go into just animating this section. So this is the key reason why I said it needs to be split up with text, because using a heading one, you can't really, it's not really going to lead. It's going to read 2 words. It would read Joseph and then Berry from an SEO point of view. And I'm not sure how semantic or the correct way of doing that. So this effect really is going to be either, if you can get it in one one line. You could put it in. You could put a short title inside of here, and you could obviously use a heading class. But for this instance, we're obviously using it split up like this. I'm going to go to a page trigger. When page starts loading and when page is finished loading. Obviously, this is going to activate that animation before it starts loading. And then this one will wait for the page to load and then fire it. Again, there's different reasons of why you might want to use them. This is if you've maybe potentially got something really heavy loading, for instance, like a video, and then you've noticed when you see the animation loading, it kind of loads in really clunky. And that's because the page is obviously trying to use a lot of CPU to get the right kind of energy to then play that animation. So again, there might be some variations of when you would use that. Again, make sure that you name this. I'm just going to call this load in animation. I think it's really important to name everything that you're doing properly. I'm sure we're all aware of that, but I've been into some projects recently and I've seen div block 335 and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely try and avoid do that. So I'm going to grab this first one, and I could apply this animation to this, and I'll just drop it down 100%. And as you can see, it's gone below the actual div height that we set. Now, there's one thing. Now we can change it from element to class. Now, there's another thing that you should weigh up here is if you're doing it selected element, it's only really going to work on this page. If you do it by class, now you've noticed that it takes both of them. It's going to take both of them away. So we want to do them individually. So we actually need to change this. But the thing to think about is if you want to duplicate this animation, if you want to duplicate this page and you want that animation to work again, you need to make sure really that it's triggered by the class. So there's a little technique that I do here, which then means we can control each element and assign it by the class. And then if we just duplicate this wherever we want, it's going to work. So the simplest way of doing that is actually just adding a unique combo class to each of these items. And what I would do for this, because it's an intro, I would do intro 1. And then on the text below, I would do intro 2. And that now gives me the opportunity to assign each of them via the class. So I can go back to that animation. And if I just unselect this and then select it back, we've now got that on 1. And I can do the move. And I can go to 0. And I'm going to find an animation type. Obviously, there's loads here to play with. Key thing really is each of these animation types have what I would call a sweet spot. Like play around with these durations is really, really important. Don't just go to ease and go 0.5 because it's very generic. We've all seen that before. So key thing is to find something that you really like. Some of these in-outs are really nice, but if you see them at a slow, like a fast speed, they don't really look that great. But if you actually start to just increase that, see the difference that already made just from increasing that time from 0.5 to 1.5, that just changed completely. And that's for me, this is kind of a go-to animation that I would use. So I've got that, and now I just need to duplicate that. So I would duplicate, I would change the target to the second one, I would drop that onto the initial state, and I would duplicate this one, and again I would change that onto the second one, and I would put that onto there, and I'd put a little bit of delay, probably 0.2. Make sure that's on a class. There we go. That's the first one. Quite cool.
Nice. Yeah, definitely.
Super simple. Great. Any questions on that?
Let's see in the chat if anyone's got any questions. I know that Mirella, is it you? I think somebody here's got a Webflow one-pager where you can visually see all the different animations, which is great. I think if you can share that link, whoever has it, I think is a great aid because you can actually visually see all these animations. So that's cool. Maria, is that you with your hand up? Yeah.
Hi. I was wondering, and I could have tried it, but I'm being lazy right now. Could we use a heading and then do spans in it?
Yes, we can, and that is, we're going to get literally onto that in the next part here. So I'm going to show you another text effect. So this one's obviously using the div hide, and the div hide is again something that I use a lot. This is one way where we could split the text out, and the other way, as you've just correctly suggested, is going to be with the spans. But there is some limitations with the span, so we can talk through that.
Awesome.
Cool.
Maria, the force year.
She had spidey sense. Any other quick questions before we move on?
Let me check.
Oh, no.
Doesn't look like it. No, I think we can carry on.
Cool. Okay, so I'm just going to duplicate this, and we're going to move down to another section. I'm going to just give this the class. So I could give this the class. So this is again where you would want to weigh up the combo classes again, and whether I create a unique class or whether I create a global class. Now the simplest thing would just to be, I want to change this to the background black. So I could just put BG black on this, yeah, and then I could set the color to this to black like that.
Mm-hmm.
Now the other way would be doing the global class way, and just need to clear this class because it will still be here. What I could do is I could just drop a div in here, similar to what we did with the div hide. I could just go BG black, and then what I can do here is I can set that color to black. I can just delete this now. And you do need to be careful when you're clearing and deleting your classes, because you're obviously going to have that. But as long as it's applied to somewhere, it won't come up as a class that's hidden. And then what I can do now is I can just type BG black. That will change that color. So again, just thinking about them options of when you might want to use a combo class and when you don't need to use a combo class. Again, it varies as you're building out things, and they're the kind of decisions that you would make. Is this unique? Do I want to give it a combo class? Or actually, is this a repetitive element that I use across lots of different pages? You know, having a BG color, because you've got a themed page, you've got sections that are white, you've got sections that are black. You know, that is where the global class is going to be really useful, because you can just quickly go and apply that to elements of a kind of more global system rather than creating individual unique elements over and over. Again, that's just thinking about how you can keep your code kind of nice and streamlined. So, yeah, so what we're going to do is we're just going to delete these. And like you said, I'm going to drop in a heading. This is a H1. And I'm just going to style this. I'm not going to get too messy. I think it was 20 rem. I need to go back to that. Put that on 1. I'll probably knock that down a touch. I'm going to copy this. Great. There's a little bit at the bottom there. I don't know what that is. I'm not going to focus. What is that? Strange. Okay. Anyway, I'm not gonna worry too much on here. So what we can do now, as Maria said, is using the span class. And what we can do is we can wrap anything in a span, and we can actually start to animate this. So we can do this individually, like 1, 2, 3. We could go individually letter by letter. And obviously there's quite a long process to go through each of them to obviously wrap each one. We'll keep it simple for the moment, but what we'll do is we'll wrap this in a span, and I'll just call this text span. We just need to change the properties on here to inline block. And that now allows us to be able to control that via the move property or any kind of transform property. So that's just a small thing that we need to change that to. And again, I will highlight this.
Do you always do that, Joe?
Huh?
Do you always do that?
What,
the inline.
Text span?
The inline. So after you do a text span.
If I'm going to animate them individual letters or anything that's wrapped in a span, it needs to be on inline block.
Right.
And then again here, so wrap this last one, text span. Now, the reason why I called, there may be a case here. Now, I called this intro 1, but say, for instance, I wanted to do a similar span wrap on the header, and I just did a unique one here, like 1. And I also did one here, you've got to think that that hero animation is actually going to pull through to this bottom one as well. So that's why I give this one a slightly unique one. So that it only interacts with the hero portion. And then this one below, again, will be tied to its own little system. So we have text band 1, text band 2, and text band 3. And again, this is so that I can reuse this animation. Now, what we could do is we can apply it just to this heading here. And what we can say is we can do scroll into view. We can do 10%. And we can do text scroll in. Now, we can't obviously do that reveal effect that we had on the last one. So that's why I showed you that effect, because you can do it like that. This one, we can only really do certain effects with this, and we need to be mindful of that. So, for instance, we're just going to kind of grab this first one. I'm going to do something very traditional. We'll probably move this down 50%. And then we'll go to 0%. And with the units that I use here, I do vary these. Sometimes I use pixels, sometimes I use percent. Obviously, if I'm using percent, what I'm saying is I'm saying move down 50% of the size of that title. So it'll move 50% of the height of that title, which is, you know, an easier way to think about it. And then I'm just going to do opacity 0, opacity 100. I'm going to just quickly change that opacity to an ease. I'm going to put that to 1 second. I'm not going to do the in out. I'm just going to do the out quart, and I will probably do like 1 second, and then just quickly look at it. I mean, yeah, like I could crassinate over that a little bit longer, but I'm just going to move on. So again, we're going to go through the same process. If you've looked at my course, if you've taken my course, I have this technique called the ladder technique. For short animations like this, it's super easy because you haven't really got that many. But you imagine if you've got a sequence that's 20, or you do individual letters that go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like you have to go back and forth. So I just do this ladder technique where I duplicate the top, I change, I add it back on.
I just shared your course in the chat. Yeah, if people want to further their expertise in animation, highly recommended. Amazing course. I bought it. I haven't started it yet, like 1,000 courses. But it's there. It's there. And I've shared it in the chat. I'm going to share it on YouTube as well.
Great. And then, yeah, we go to the bottom. So it's kind of getting in this nice rhythm of doing these animations, because you imagine when you've got a really big system building up here, you know, getting in that kind of methodical process of going through this is really, really beneficial. There's so many times where I've been going like, what number am I? And I've completely lost track of where I am. So yeah, just this little up and down motion. It's really simple to kind of get your pattern. Again, all about patterns repeating. And then we just quickly 1, 2, 3. Great, super. That was really nice. So we'll have a little look. We've got that one. We scroll in. We get the second one. Nice,
smooth,
super easy. We can also. I think we'd probably just, for me, I'd probably just increase this a little bit more. I kind of want to see it a little bit more. Probably go 20%. 1, 2. Don't know why we've got that weird shape at the bottom, but it doesn't matter. So now that we've set this up, and again, because we've used, sorry for the, I think that was police car. Because we've used the class, and as you can see, 1, 2, 3. Now, what we could do, and this is why it's really good to set it up like this. If I duplicate this section, and I actually, you know, wanted to change this, me, you, and I know this is just random, but I need to clear this span off here. So this is now you've set this up. Now imagine what I would do is work to the worst case scenario. So the worst case scenario that I have a sentence or a paragraph that is 20 words long. So I build out this big animation that is 20 sequences long. And then theoretically, I can go and apply this to anything. And as long as I set it up the same way and apply that animation, it doesn't matter if I don't have 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 in that sequence. It's going to play 1, 2, 3. So for instance, I just need to go back, do that same process, and text, span text. Span, sorry. Text span. And then I would just need to go 1, 2, and 3. And this will now work. So wherever I apply this now, this animation will just work. So for instance, if I wanted to build this out, as I just said, maybe we have a sentence that's like 6 words. Well, I would go back into this animation, this one that we created. I wouldn't create a new one. I would just build straight on top of this. So theoretically, we've got 3 in there now. Well, I would continue building to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever the highest one that I need. And then I can literally just start going to any title that I want to apply this effect to, apply the span on each of the words that I want to animate, and then put the number sequence, and it will animate really easily across all of them. I'm going to have another little breather.
I was actually breathing. Now that you mentioned it, I was like, "Yep, take a breath."
Was that yeah? And again, any other questions? Any other thoughts? Does it all make sense?
Emily's here. Thumbs up. Let's have a look. Okay. Some people are taking up on the course, which is amazing. That's great. Don't see any questions so far. Brianna, no worries. I'll see you next time. But yeah, I think if nobody's got any questions, we can probably carry on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm loving it. I'm loving it so far. So thank you, Joe.
Huh?
I'm loving it so far. It's great. Love the place.
Out of what I've showed you, like how familiar you are with what I've showed you, or is this to all of them? Like, just if this is familiar, just put a thumbs up, or if it's not familiar, just leave it. Just want to see how many of you actually know some of the things that I'm showing you. Emily's, obviously, hello, Emily. How are you? Okay, cool. Yeah. Okay, so there's a couple in here.
Yeah, half and half.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, I just wanted to gauge, and I guess does it feel familiar? Me going over it again?
For me, it's never a bad idea to just rehear and rewatch the same things ever.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Great. Okay, cool. And we're going to move on to something slightly different now.
Yeah.
So
people agree with you, Maria. I think, repetition is key as well. And as you were saying, Joe, like the more you practice, the better you become. So any little new perspective really means a lot. So that's great.
Exactly. Great. Okay, cool. So we're going to get rid of this. We have the BG Black. So I'm just going to get that now. We're going to go back onto this section. We're going to drop a div inside of here. This is another effect that I've been using quite a lot, and it's quite nice for this kind of image reveal effect. I'm going to call this image parent. Anyone that's taken my course would know that I use this a lot as well. And the image parent is width 100%, height 100%, and then the overflow is set to hidden. Then we're going to give this class here the class of image child. Again, this is going to have a width of 100%, height of 100%. And what we're going to do is on this hero parent, we're actually going to set the display to flex center. So I'm just going to put a combo class on this, flex center, CC. That's what I do as a shorthand. And then I'm just going to set center. And that now would effectively kind of set the position of that. And then on this image child, I'm going to apply my ugly mug on this. I'm going to set a cover. And I'm actually going to put it on fixed. And when you do a fixed, it does that kind of, it does like a kind of cool effect already when you kind of scroll. But we're actually going to just play around with this a little bit more. And I'm going to see if the blending modes work. And I'm going to put a multiply on here as well. So what I'm going to just quickly test is on this image parent, I'm just going to move the size. Now, as you can see, it's just cropping me off really nicely. It's almost opening this image like a book, like a wipe. And this technique can be used on quite a few things. I'm just going to kind of size it up to a kind of size here.
Would that be called an accordion?
Huh?
Would that be called an accordion animation?
You could use, this is kind of a similar effect in terms of opening it out. But I would kind of call this more like a wipe effect, like an image wipe effect.
Nice.
So I'm just going to kind of, that's too square. We want it kind of rectangle-ish. And I'm going to kind of play around here with kind of the things that we could actually manipulate. Like the thing that I'm looking at here is my image is well too big. My face is obviously in the wrong kind of position. Is there anything that we can do to this to make it a little bit better in terms of the way that it looks? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this hero parent. I'm going to do a scroll in to view.
We're converting some people to Webflow here. That's great.
Do an image scale. Image scale. We need to remember the measurements, and I've just forgot them. So it's 2060. Let's go back to that image scrolling. We're going to set that at like 20%. We're going to grab the image parent because that is the one that we are scaling. We're going to do size. We're going to set the initial properties. The width is 20%. Height is 60%. And then we're obviously going to go a size on the animation. We're going to do 100% and 100%. And I'm going to do that really nice in-out quote. I'm probably going to bump it up to 2 seconds. Let's just have a little look. Yeah, really nice effect there. You know, it wipes open, really nice. And again, you could imagine applying the text effect over the top. So let's try and add that on top again with what we've built. And again, showing you the way that you set these systems up, you can start to kind of just build things out and they'll be animated and ready for you to kind of explore and push that. Now I'm going to grab this image child and I'm going to try something. I'm going to see if I can actually scale this. And that's scaled it too much. So look, I can actually scale this. Look, I'm going to scale that down. That goes to 2. Is that right? Okay, let me just quickly look here because 1 is telling me I'm just playing here and I'm just seeing 0.1. And then if I scale just 2 does take it too big. Now does this? Oh, there you go. And that was really weird because actually it didn't do anything. It just scaled it, and that's look. I've literally just tried this right now, and I didn't even think it was going to work. But I've set the initial scale on the image to 1, and the end position to 1. So I think it's scaling in proportions of the wipe, but it's still giving us that really nice open reveal effect, which is great. Which is really, really nice, actually. Now, another thing that we could potentially have done with this image is we can also move it. So, for instance, we could just move this 10%. Oh, no, it did. Why? How comes it did that? That was strange. I've never seen that happen before. You can actually move this. But for some reason that didn't work, so I'm not going to investigate too further. Otherwise, I'll get lost in the hole of things. But we'll go back to that scale because I think that scale was really nice, and I will leave it like that. And let's just have a quick look at the scale. Okay, let's just play around with the kind of animation settings on that. That's on 2. Maybe if we mimic this in our core, let's just have a look and see what that does. Yeah, that kind of really feels nice and seamless. I like that a lot. And then let's just test that, see if it works. 2. Yeah, great. I'll just try that again. Yeah, I really like that. And now what we could do, as I said, we've obviously got this content parent in this one that we've created. So we could, I believe, if we drop this down into this hero parent, you'll see that we've got the text there. We've set that all up. We've got that scroll interaction working. We know that the first one's going to work, and we know that the second one's going to work. So that's how we can then just quickly kind of build along as we've kind of created this first initial animation. So that's
Awesome.
the next bit.
That's really amazing, Joe. You clearly have a passion for it, and I'm really thankful that I'm really happy that you're here sharing that with us. It brings a lot of value.
Good. Should we have time? Do we have time for the last one, or do you want to move on to?
Yeah, I think we've got. We can spend another 5 minutes. You seem to be great with your pace. I think we can fit in another great tip.
Okay. Okie dokie. All right, we'll do this last one, which is going to be. I'm going to delete that one quickly. I'm actually going to copy the top one because it's kind of got the setup that we need. And I'm just going to move this here. Now we've got these set up, and I can just go in and quickly define. I remember what the words were. I'm just gonna do 2. Spell. Oh, design. Have I spelled that right? Yeah, I have. Oh no, I haven't.
S-I.
There you go. Cool. So yeah, this one again with the div hides, we're going to use just going to do a simple kind of line effect here, and we're going to kind of do a rotate on the text. So the reason why I set at the div hide position relative is because we can start actually putting elements into this, which we can evolve this a little bit more. So I'm just going to drop a div in, and I'm going to call this border line, and then I'm going to set the position of where I want it would be. So bottom would be BTM. And as we know, when the parent element is relative, we can control the position of where we want this line to move from or scale from. So I'm just going to put absolute on this, and then I'm going to pin it down into this bottom left-hand corner. I'm going to set the width to 100%, and I'm going to set the height to 2 pixels. And I'm going to put a background color of white. And as you can see, that has created a nice line. And because it's sat inside of that parent, the line will only go as far as that div that we've got it contained inside. And then I can just literally copy and paste that other line to the other one. Now that we've got this text in here, what I want to do is I'm going to remove the intro class, because that will be triggered by that hero intro if we don't remove that class. So that's quite important. And what we're going to do here is I'm going to duplicate this. I hate that new select thing. It's really annoying. Like when you don't actually fully select off something and it's still the cursor, and you go to like select something else and it won't, you have to like literally physically click onto something and then you can do it. I feel like that's something new that they've just brought in. So we've got 2 bits of text here. And what I'm going to do here, this can be used for rollovers, for links. Again, you could apply the span text on individual and animate each individual one. We're just going to animate individual words here, which is super simple. But what we need to do here is we need to give these individually unique class to each one. So this one's called super text, and this one I'm going to duplicate it, and I'm going to call it AB for absolute. And I'm just going to put absolute. And then I'm just going to pin it to the top here. So theoretically now we've got 2, and they're just sitting on top of each other. And we're going to create a really nice effect that you've probably seen before. But again, with that span effect, you could individually wrap each one. You'd have to do it on both. It's going to be very fiddly. It will take a little time to set up. And then you could individually animate each of them letters on hover. But we're just going to do it like by the letter. And we're going to do a hover animation. We're going to do text hover, and I've done this a million times. I'm going to go move. I'm going to set the position to 0%. I'm going to do the end to minus 100%. You can see that it's now moved out of view. I'm going to do the in-out core. I'm going to do it 1 second. I'm going to select the super text AB. I'm going to do a move. This one's going to go down. So I'm going to do 100%. That one's gone down out of view. I'm going to do a move to 0. And that one's come into view. I'm going to set it to the in-art court. I'm going to do 1 second. Just going to have a quick preview. Really nice, quick, nice effect. But you could imagine if you did that with individual letters, you'd get that really nice ticker tape roll, which I have done before. And I think I have got a clonable that does something similar like that. So now we've got that. We want to do the line. So I'm going to do a size. I'm going to do the width is 0. I'm going to do the size here. I'm going to do width 100%.
People are really impressed in the chat. It's like
Right,
watching a genius at work. It's amazing.
That's very, it's very nice to hear. Great. And then I'm going to put this on 1 second. And let's just. So what I'm looking at this, what I'm looking at again, this is some of the small details that I'm looking at with this animation. For me, that line comes in too soon. The text animation comes, then the line kind of interferes a little bit with that animation. It just doesn't come at the right time. So simplest thing would probably be, let's just put a little point delay on that. No, not enough. So let's put 0.2 on that and let's just have a look. Still not enough. Now, maybe what we might need to do is actually just speed this up a little bit. Maybe we put this at 0.8. Still not enough. I'm going to go down again. Again, see how I'm just tweaking these measurements? That's kind of it. So it kind of does it and then it kicks the line in. And that's what I was looking at, just not the two elements crossing. I kind of want to see that happen. Not so that it's like doom, doom, but almost so it kind of just, I always say it's a crescendo. You know, it kind of really seamlessly flicks on from each other. And that's the way that I would approach it. I even think this needs to be delayed a tiny bit more. There you go. That would be my ultimate sweet spot. I will just delete this because I won't apply it to the other one. We'll just delete this and just do it for this one. And now that we've got that animation, it's super simple just to duplicate this, select the out. Now, the simplest way, what I do is I just edit this. So I know that the super text needs to come back to 0. I know that this one needs to go back down 100%. And I know that the size needs to go to 0. Now, what I do know is that I'm going to have to probably tweak the animation a little bit. So we know that this is 0.3. Well, actually, I think these are going to be 0.3. And this is actually going to be 0 because the line is probably going to be the first thing that we want to go back before the animation. Maybe it might change. I don't know, but I'm just guessing here. Now, one thing that I would think about as well, like in animation, you can make a little bit more time consuming, you know, a little bit more. It's that first instance, like, wow, that's really nice. But ultimately, sometimes when you're coming out, you maybe want that to be a little bit quicker. And this is going to be, say, for instance, you do a nice burger menu open. You know, the opening is going to be the wow bit. When I close it, I want to get rid of it and I want it to be quicker. And that's, again, thinking about that user experience rather than doing it all to be like, and then go out. It's like, no, I've seen that. Let's get it in and then get it out. So just some other little things that I think about when I'm looking at that. I will just see what this looks like. So great. Okay, so again, we've got that little cross on the back. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to speed this up 0.5. And then I'm going to keep them on the 0.6. I think that's fine. Yeah, there you go. Beautiful. Beautiful
indeed.
And now, again, that we've set this up in this order and this way, we can just copy and paste, and this is going to work on every single one that we want to use.
Oh, that's so cool. That's amazing. Awesome.
And that's it.
Thank you so much, Joseph. It was just like, I don't know, an infusion of awesomeness. Like, I definitely feel more animated and inspired. Let's have a look.
I think, you know, again, the way that I try to approach animation is, look, not every project needs animation. It's not always about animation. You know, it definitely makes it feel a little bit nicer when you do have some nice animations and interactions just to bring life or bring emphasis or highlight certain areas. But yeah, I'd sometimes maybe get carried away a little bit. I know I do. And that's why I'm really kind of go through that process of, do I actually need to do this? Or can I remove this? And that's the question that I'm always asking myself, like, do I need this? Does it really make any difference? And then saying, no, actually, I don't need this, removing this. But yeah, I guess working with these basic techniques, as I said before, once you kind of build and grow on them, they become second nature. And then, like, for instance, that little image thing, that was seriously just a little quick fluke. I've not actually tried that yet. But again, get into that habit of trying crazy shit, because actually sometimes things work which you don't expect to work, or you do things where actually you didn't really think that was possible.
I'm really happy that you found something new coming here today.
Yep, I'll definitely use that now. That's
amazing.
actually a really good one.
Have you always, so like when you start working on a project, do you think about the animation straight away, or is that something that comes after your design? Or
so again, inside of my course, I work on a very, again, a hybrid kind of process where when I'm in design, I'm, for instance, moving things around, thinking about how things might come in, playing around with ideas, thinking, maybe using some references. But generally in my head, I'm kind of like, that's going to do this, this is going to move like that. And then obviously when I get into Webflow is where actually, what was I thinking? Does it actually work?
Yeah.
Is it going to work?
Yeah.
And, sometimes not everything that I come up with works.
Mm-hmm.
But I've obviously got to a stage now where I pretty much know every in and out of what is possible and what's not possible. So again, I would plan my design and animation ideas to obviously accompany that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, a bit of both, but a lot of it really is done in build. And I think the key thing for me is having a base like this, I know it's really rough, really simple, but it's really important that you just have something as a rough guide to start with before you jump into building. And it's so easy just to jump into Webflow and start building. If you are doing that, stop it. Don't do that, because it's really bad practice. And I think from a design point of view, you want to have a little bit of an idea of where you're going. I always say design is about 80-90%, because the other 10 to 20% of you crafting and tweaking and actually seeing it in context is inside of Webflow. Webflow gives you the ability to actually push your design a little bit further than you originally had it in design. But just going into Webflow cold, you're gonna go round in circles. You're probably gonna not get a good sense of what you want to do. Like, this is a base. Work with that, and then you can play around and explore different things and try different things. But yeah, my approach would definitely be, even if it's a loose wireframe or something, just so you've got something to work from to really give you a base, and then you can obviously kind of explore a little bit further.
Yeah, that's really good, because I'm a little bit guilty of illustrations. So like before, I've been thinking of redesigning our website for a long time, but before I actually develop and draw the illustration for it, I can't get started. And yeah, people here know that I'm a little bit like that. I have to have the illustrations first, and then my ideas kind of flow after that.
Yeah, exactly. Some people like to sketch. Some people like to kind of methodically think it out in their head. Some people like to visualize it. I'm obviously very visual, so I will do anything in Figma, plan out ideas. When I'm doing some of the more complex thing, I really go through like a bit of a storyboard kind of vibe, thinking about the transitions and the sections and how they would come together. And then, as I said, going into Webflow, it's like, yeah, is it going to work? Is it not going to work? I don't know. Let's see. And then that part of the process kind of comes to fruition when you start exploring it.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. People here in the community, do we have any questions for Joseph? Maria?
Yes. I was wondering because I'm totally guilty of it. Do you ever go Lottie instead of Webflow?
Yeah. I mean, I've been using a lot more Lottie recently, and it's definitely something again that you can explore. Obviously, you need to kind of know After Effects.
Yeah, that's my issue because I come from that background.
You
So
come
I decided to challenge myself for the Webflow party challenge. So I went like, okay, I'll do this in Webflow. So I lost like forever in something I would have done in like less than an hour and a half.
Yeah. Now, for me, I'm the flip. I can do something in Webflow a lot quicker than I can in After Effects, but that's because I've just come more attuned to it. Like you'll probably, once you get better at Webflow, you will understand that honestly, it's so much quicker and easier to animate in Webflow than it is in After Effects. But yeah, Lottie's are very, very useful, like little icon animations. Maybe you want to do some more graphical things on scroll. You obviously can do image sequence, so you have JPEG or PNG sequences. The only issue with that is the file sizes become quite large when you start doing big sequences. So you need to be mindful of that. Again, I think it's something that you use when is the time. Could be nice burger menus. You know, you can obviously create some wicked animations in vector-based for burger menu icons. Maybe there could, as I said, icons and other little bits and pieces like that are really good for a Lottie file.
Yeah, I think for me, what's missing is me being able to nest animations. You know, it's that timeline thing that.
Where you can kind of compose.
Yeah, have smaller animations
inside, and then like they're like nested, composed, so you can then break down.
That would be so awesome.
Yeah, and
it's a mindset because I come from that.
Yeah,
timeline moving things. You know, I'm trying to work.
And Webflow is very similar. You just don't have a visual timeline. You're putting in your measurements, and you need to know that you've got a start point and an end point, which is very similar to timeline, where you drop a diamond and then you drop the other diamond and one, and you change the element position of it. It is the same, but it's just visually slightly different. But the mechanics, ultimately, they are somewhat similar, because actually, I never used to really use After Effects, and I started to understand it more since I learned animations in Webflow. And I know that sounds really, really weird, but that's how it felt for me. Like once I started using Webflow, when I got into After Effects, I was actually like, oh, this is not as daunting and scary as I thought. Because After Effects, again, is like you go into it and you're like, wow, like there's so many different things you can do. There's so many different effects. It does get a little bit crazy in there as well.
That's true. Anyway, the animation principles and stuff, it's all the same. It's just mostly UI. It's the UI. If you're too used to one, to like the mindset to change. But
there is definitely a shift in the change. But you're dealing with elements that actually could have physical impact on a structure of something. Where animating in After Effects, you can do whatever you want. It doesn't matter. It's not going to affect anything. You can, do certain things to like disguise certain things. You can obviously use different kind of techniques, and you might have multiple layers. No one's going to see them layers as you're transitioning them in and out. And where you can again do similar things like that in Webflow, but it's understanding that mindset to be able to kind of do that.
And that's why I challenged myself to do it in Webflow. And I'm so not happy with myself. But okay.
It will take time. It always does.
It's today. I have to go to show it.
Mirella's got a question, I think.
Hey, everyone. Hey, Joe.
Hi.
Nice to meet you. I'm Mirella. I just wanted to thank you for coming here today. And you must have a lot of patience, because we all know that sometimes it might take less, like building from scratch a whole page, than just doing a little animation that might be a very fancy animation, very complex, that you might not even notice it, but it takes a lot of work to actually think and build it. So to be that proficient at your level. So I really think you must have put a lot of time, many hours of your day, and a lot of patience, I guess.
Yeah. Just some kind of background on myself. I've always known what I wanted to do since I was at school. I guess I've been doing design since I was like 12. So I'm on this journey now where I'm like 20 years deep, 10 years plus working in agencies, now just become freelance. This definitely hasn't happened overnight. And I would always say, you're going to have patience. Things don't happen overnight. It takes a lot of time to, one, understand the many facets of design, animation, building. If you're going to chuck yourself into all of these different kind of areas, there's so many different things that stem from one of these little areas, and to become, at the next level, or to become at the level that you want to be at, it's taken a lot of hours, a lot of times just practicing. My key thing that I've always said many, many times is just practice, repetition. It's like anything in sport. If you want to become at sport, a lot of it's muscle memory. How do you get good at muscle memory? Is just doing it over and over and over and over and over again. And then the other nuances is, how you then become better at your craft and understand how to make better design decisions or how to improve on that. Again, that just comes with time and experience. It's not, there is obviously anomaly cases where some people are just really, they're really talented. I probably was like a bit of a slow burner. I think, where I started, my design was terrible. Like, I can't explain to you like how shit some of my early stuff was and where I am now. But my mindset is now that even now I still feel like my stuff could be better. And again, that comes down to the mindset of yourself as an individual. It's a long road. Try not to worry too much about what everyone else is doing. Focus on you, your own skills. And as long as you feel like in yourself that you're kind of improving and getting better, try not to beat yourself up about it. I think that's another thing that a lot of designers and creatives do. We beat ourselves up a little bit. Ultimately, we do it because we enjoy creating things. So always remember that at heart.
You are one of those crazy designers out there that do crazy stuff. So, but I think, I believe this was, thank you also for explaining that and also telling a bit of yourself in your background. I think it was very important to hear it from many of us here today. And yeah, thanks again.
No, Boris, thank you.
I really appreciate what you do, and I love your work. I also shared your Webflow profile here in the comments, so people can see all your clonables and projects.
Great, thank you very much. Yeah, I do kind of feel like a little bit like that now, but obviously, it's a nice feeling that everyone kind of not. I wouldn't say I don't like using the term "look up to me," but it's nice. Because as I said, I've put a lot of time and effort into this, and I obviously get a lot back from doing things like this, and I enjoy teaching people stuff, whatever I decide to teach. And I'm definitely thinking of doing more stuff like this. I've got ideas for a new course, which is really going to get into my full process. From taking on an idea, how I go through mood boards and designing and thinking about different concepts, how I refine down into a direction, how we build it out, and then going into kind of a build phase as well. So I know from the first course, a lot of people are really interested in that and how my process is and how I work. And I've got some really cool ideas. I'm actually thinking that I would love to do the course based on an actual project. So the way that I'm planning is I would need to get a sign off from the client. I would actually do it with a reel, and I would show you the interactions from emails, how I present my work. Like, I'd really like to go into some of that kind of unseen backdoor kind of environment, which I think to see would be really, really interesting. I think that's the other thing, especially if you're a freelancer. Like, when you're working in an agency, you've got other people around you to support you. You're going to be having mentors and other things like that. But when you're a freelancer, for me, I always felt like I wanted to be really confident and understand a lot of aspects, not just design, but how to manage clients, how to really deliver work that warrants the money that you're trying to charge, how you really give something that's unique from your services and your process, because that's ultimately one of the key things that a lot of clients are going to be interested in, is your process and how you manage and how you present yourself. So yeah, I think that would be something really really nice to do.
And I think that's what you're really an expert at, like the storytelling, but not just when it comes to actual functionality of a storytelling, but it's clear that you've got a passion for it, and the way you develop it doesn't just necessarily comes from work, but it comes from a genuine place, which, you know, that's what comes through when you talk, when you teach, and what makes you so successful, I think, because, you know, it's different when you can feel that passion and when you're just following any other course. So yeah, we're very grateful to have you here, Joseph. Everyone's really happy.
It's I always say it's positive encouragement is something that I think we should all try and do with each other, and that is encourage each other. I've been in jobs where I've had the shittest creative director you would ever believe, and it made me feel like crap. But it was always really nice when your boss would pull you to the side and just say, you know what, Joe, you really smashed it, or you did really well. So encouragement is really good, and it just keeps you sane.
Definitely, and that's, you know, what that's what we're trying to do here. That's what we try and do in this community and all the amazing communities out there nowadays. Collective growth and supporting one another, I think that's the key.
Great.
All right. Well, if nobody else wants to add anything, everyone's saying thank you in the chat. I don't know if you glanced at it, but yeah, everyone's really grateful. So once again, Joseph, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to meet you and to have you here with us today. Please come back if you want to. Our doors are open.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me, and thank you all for joining me.
All right. See you next time then. See you around.
See you later all. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
That was great. All right, girls, let me close the YouTube and I will be back. All right. Well, thank you everyone for being here with us today. And if you're watching this in the future, we appreciate you just as much. So yeah, see you next Wednesday, possibly, hopefully. Bye.